Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
We'll start with a quote. The quote is by Sadhguru. Learning to listen is the essence of intelligent living. What he means is that we need to learn to listen, because when you listen, you actually gather information, and then that makes you wiser and more intelligent in the long run. So this is analysis, part 1 of it. Let's have a look at the content. Which phase of the design thinking process is analysis? What exactly is information or data analysis? What does it involve? Why is analysis important? Followed by studies, further studies and references. So analysis is the second phase of the design thinking and innovation process. We finished the first part where you did primary research and secondary research. Now we are at the second phase, which has to do with whatever information that you've collected in both primary and secondary research. We'll analyze it here because analysis leads to understanding. It also makes it much more clear what exactly you need to do. Okay, so that's something we'll do in this phase. Okay, and then we'll follow it with ideation, building, testing and implementing it. So to summarize, if you looked at research, you had to look all over the place to find the information that is most pertinent to your problem. Okay, in analysis, you shorten it down because you kind of choose the ones which are really relevant to you. Okay, and then when you go to ideation, you are again diverging. So let's look at what is exactly data or information analysis. It involves critically examining the information that you got, both from primary and secondary research. And what we are doing is we are trying to make sense of it. Okay, that means that you're trying to identify issues or needs, again related to your topic. Okay, so it's critically examining the information. Okay, so that you kind of see and only look at things that are very pertinent to your topic. Okay, so that means that it helps you to convert this information from your observation or studies and making references to finding opportunities for design, which leads to recommendations. So that becomes the starting point for ideation. Okay, so I'm again repeating, analysis helps you convert the observation studies into inferences, from there to find opportunities which leads to recommendations for design. What does it involve? So analysis involves selection, then sorting, cross-relating, prioritizing, visualizing, all these things that have been, the information that you gathered both from primary user studies and secondary research. Okay, so let's look at it. Selection, select and choose. Sorting means classification, grouping it into similar factors. Cross-relating, comparing different factors. Prioritizing what is more important and what is less important, and identify things that are unique, which are very pertinent to the topic that you're doing it, and if you can actually visualize and map it, nothing like it. Okay, so if you look at it, there are some steps to it. Okay, so the selection is the first step, and you'll see that we've already done part of it in the primary and secondary research. When we got the information, we had to actually select this information. Then we also did sorting. That means you put it into different categories which have some affinities into similar categories, right? Then we actually looked at keywords or short phrases and put it on sticky notes so it becomes easy to sort and classify this information. Even the third part, cross relating, that means that if you find some interconnectedness or affinities, you called it as affinity links, you kind of linked it together. So steps 1, 2 and 3, we've kind of done it in primary and secondary research, but we'll also look at it because it's part of the analysis. Fourth is actually, if you have all the data that you sorted, can you actually prioritize it? Means that something which is more important versus something that is not so important. Okay, and then find out if some of the information are unique, or different. Okay, they have special focus and more relevant to your subject that you're trying to do. Okay, and then of course, if you can actually make it visible through visualization and mappings, so you can make use of charts, diagrams. Okay, so that will be wonderful because it makes it very easy to compare different data. Okay, and we look at 3 types of mappings, one with respect to artifacts, one with respect to activities, one with respect to the environments. Okay, but more on that later. So just going through the steps again, because it's very, very important to understand the different steps involved in data analysis. You need to select the information that is important for you. You need to sort that out into categories, okay, and then cross-relate this information so that you can find affinity links, okay, and then you can prioritize it such that information that is more important is prioritized against information that is not so relevant. Okay, and then you need to look at its uniqueness and then visualize it through mappings. Okay, so selection, sorting, cross-relating, prioritizing, uniqueness and visualization. So these are the 6 different steps involved in data analysis. So let's look at the different types of mappings, because that's something we'll do it as part of your tool. Just to mention that you need to really select one of them. Okay, and if you really get interested and want to do all of them, nothing like it. But for the sake of the exercise and the project, it's okay if you just do one of them. Okay, so there are 3 types of mappings: artifact mapping, okay, and then you have activity mappings, okay, and then you have environmental mappings. Okay, so let's look at artifact mapping. So you're basically looking at your topic. If it involves objects, medias or services, you're going to put all of them together. If there is a history of them, you can actually make a connection through history, right? So that is artifact mapping. Your focus is on objects, medias and services. Activity or temporal mapping, it's also called temporal mapping because activity happens over a period of time. Okay, so it's shown across a period of time. So it could be like, one day in the life of your user or a product. Okay, you can also do user journey mappings. Okay, you can do life cycle mapping of a product or a service. Okay, that what is its starting point, how does it come back to the starting point, and also there are mappings which are causal mappings. That means how you can actually build interdependencies within the different variables of your topic. Okay, so these are activity mappings. They are actually extremely simple mappings to do. Okay, once you look at it, you'll see that, oh, it's a cakewalk to do these mappings. So you can try some of them. Okay, so intention is to expose you to all of them. So you can just choose what you want to do, which is more relevant to your topic. Okay, and the last mapping is environmental mapping. It's also called as spatial mappings because it happens across a spatial dimension. Okay, so that means that the region or the location becomes very, very important. So whatever factors which are pertinent to your topic, you kind of map it across the space dimension. Okay, and you can also connect these different factors together. Okay, so you have artifact mappings, that's one. Activity or temporal mappings, that's the second type of mapping, and environmental or spatial mappings, that's the third type of mapping, and you need to just do one of them. Let's look at why analysis is important. Analysis involves critically examining the information or the data that you've collated and trying to make sense of this information in a very systematic and an organized manner. Okay, so because once you do that, it becomes useful in identifying the needs or the issues connected with your topic. Okay, and the recommendations that you do from this analysis will actually help in better understanding the problem that you want to solve. Okay, so we call it as the redefining the problem statement itself. Let's have a look at the further studies and references. Of course, references with respect to design thinking and innovation, which is there at DSOS, is a useful resource. There's a very classic book, Design Methods by Christopher Jones. Okay, so it's a really classic book because it talks about a very structured way of looking at design process and the methods involved in it. Also the Pocket Universal Principles of Design, it's a very readable book by William Lidwell. Let's end with a quote. The quote is by Aristotle. He says, the more you know you don't know. A bit confusing, isn't it? So let's read it again. The more you know you don't know. What he means is that when you actually acquire information and that information becomes knowledge, you'll realize the world has so many questions that needs to be still answered.